letting of contracts and how we pay for contracts, in your general view of granting, what is your general view of granting sole source contracts for goods and services needed by the city? And if there is an inclusion and exclusion of that, at what threshold or what dollar amount do you require a contract?
Well, I'm opposed to sole source contract. You know, I think everything should be bid out. I think it would be a rare, very rare exception when there is something that literally there's only one provider of something that we need. I think that would be extremely rare, and I think frequently when it does happen, it's because someone's drafted the bid specs so that it's only going to work for one provider to make the bid. So I do not like that entire concept. I think we should bid and get the best for the best price. That said, before I set a number on the threshold, I'd want to see what amount they're putting on them now. You know, what is the average contract that they're using? You know, for small things, and I'm not sure what small is in their contracting process, but for small things, it's an awful lot of trouble sometimes to go out and do that, and the dollar savings on the small deal isn't worth it probably. But I'd want to see what the average contract is that they're doing sole source or not bidding before I make a determination on what that threshold is.
Okay, we got about 3 minutes. Don, how are you?
What will you do to encourage transparency and public access to government and public participation in the legislative process?
Well, I think the whole budget process needs to start sooner, for one. But I think, you know, our sunshine laws are great. They're a good start. But we need to have more citizen input. This year was better than the year before. We did have the mayor's sessions where folks could go and begin a process of ranking items in the budget. But that was a short-sighted process. You know, there were no dollar figures. People were, oh, that sounds good. Yes, we should do it. Yes, we should do it. I had a group that was voting down things that were statutorily required to do. And you thought, well, how can you give that a 0 ranking by state or federal law? We have to do that. So that was a beginning of a process to get more folks involved. But I think it needs to happen for a longer period. I think all the folks, and some of you were in that group that spoke on the night the budget was adopted. That was great, but it was really almost too late at that point. You know, those hearings could take place for several days beforehand, so that great ideas can come to the table frequently. There needs to be as much citizen participation. And I think the entire city council should have met as a whole, as sitting in as the finance committee, to go through some of that. Clay Yarborough had many amendments on the night of the budget. They should have been addressed, talked about, had some study put into them weeks before, and perhaps some of them would have passed, but people hesitate when they don't understand what the result of their vote might be. And so I think more meetings, more participation, and listening to people. You asked, we started the question, John, with, you know, what are the city's core priorities? I know you each have a list. I don't think as a city we've agreed on that. And so when we complain that city council folks are spending money on cultural council or Jaguars or whatever it is, when I'm out at different events, I have people that think those are the very things we should never cut. So I think a huge thing is to, as a city, do some discussion. What should we be doing? There are other communities that have great sets of priorities. What's in that budget that you can't touch because it is federally mandated, it's pass-through funds, you have to do it, you know, and what at the other end is totally flexible, it's nice, it's fluff, and if the money's short, that's where you go first. Once they've prioritized and set some of those, it's a lot easier to make the budget fit that priority. And I think we as a community don't really have total buy-in as to what our services are supposed to be. And that would be a huge starting point.
Now, you're an extremely crowded race.
Yes.
And so what is it that distinguishes you from your 5 opponents and would specifically make you, rather than any other event, the right choice for the voters in 14?
Okay. I think there's several things. I think my education, my experience in the community with working with a lot of different groups, a lot of different people, have given me an awareness of many of the issues and the diversity of opinion on many of those issues. I grew up in Jacksonville. I understand the history that got us in some of these either budget holes or some of the wonderful things that we do. So I think I bring that knowledge and experience and education. I also, through a lot of my leadership activities, have learned how to work with people, how to bring people together. I don't think everything is black or white. I think somewhere in the middle is probably going to be the answer that we can get to, and that we have to be able to find that common ground and make movement. And I think I do have the ability to reason with folks and listen. I think listening is a huge thing. Again, I don't know every answer. You guys have studied the budget probably way more than half of our community, way more than a good portion of the city council probably. You've got to listen to folks. You've got to listen to business. You've got to listen to the people that are taking care of the downtrodden, and you've got to listen to the homeowner who's struggling, and then make the best decision. I also think I bring the integrity and ethics that I'm going to try to do the best that I can for our community as a whole. I have nothing to get out of this. It's certainly not the glory, which isn't there, but I'm doing it to serve and make a difference in our community.
All right.
All right, two final things, out of time. Assuming that
Okay.
the concerned taxpayers of Duval County were to officially endorse you, what actions, if any, would you take to inform the electorate of this fact or hide it?
Interesting. Well, you know, so far I have been endorsed by the Chamber and the North Florida Builders. I have put that fact on any questionnaire I've filled out subsequent, as would concerned taxpayers on anything that goes out. I'm trying to save money by changing that darn website as infrequently as humanly possible. But at some point, endorsements will be added when other changes have to be made on the website. Some of the flyers that will go out, you know, will have endorsed by. Your endorsement would be listed just with anyone else's. You know, I think it would, in this political climate, having your endorsement would be certainly not something you'd want to hide as compared to the police union, which, you know, used to have. I mean, I've seen old things and they've got the huge star, you know, the endorsed by. I bet we won't see that too much in this election. But yes, anything that I'm putting out with endorsements, you would be listed with anyone else.
And the final thing we have is, this is a candidate's pledge to taxpayers of Duval County. This is something for you to take and read at your leisure and return if you'd like. It bears no consideration on the deliberations of this committee for endorsement. So you can commit to all these pledges, and it won't put you ahead of anybody who commits to none of these.
Okay.
So just for something for you to read at your leisure.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, I thank you, and let me just say, I mean, I thank you guys in general. Concerned taxpayers of Duval County is a very broad title, but you guys are out there fighting the good fight all the time, and there aren't many. You know, I know I've seen you two an awful lot. John, we hadn't met, you know, but you guys know what you stand for, and you keep fighting for it. And if everybody did that, we'd have some great dialogue going. We have too many people that stand for things and just never say it. Don't stand up and speak up. So thank you. You know,
Thank
whether we
you.
agree or disagree on an issue, you're fighting a good fight. So thank you.
All right.